बिहारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी गोपीजन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जनरंजना 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 यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी यमुना तीर वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandan Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana 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 Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Radha Madhav Kunja Vihari Radha Madhav Kunja Vihari Jai Jai Radha Madhav Kunja Vihari Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paradrijagacharya Ashtotra Jata Shri Srimad Srila Abhay Charanananda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Nama Acharya Srila Thakur Haridas Ki Jai Prem se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai Ganga Devi Ki Jai Vanamai Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Tulsi Rani Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Hari Nama Sankirtana Ki Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Samsthapak Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Go Premanande All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to the assembled devotees All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga Jai Srila Prabhupada Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Om Ajnanatimerantasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Ragunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Madgavira Bigopala Swikuryat Kripaya Yadi Tadaiva Sampaya Pitva Krishye Yustat Priyajanaha. Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for assembling this morning. We're not really going to speak about Srimad Bhagavatam as much as we'll speak about the appearance days. So many appearance days today and one disappearance day. In addition to that, it's the festive occasion of Vasanta Panchami. So as you've noticed, everyone is wearing yellow or something close to that. And also that today is the Saraswati Puja, a big festival in some quarters. So we'll begin with Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 10, and the introductory verse to that chapter is Shri Chaitanya Padam Bhoja Madhupebhyo Namo Namaha Katanchid Ashrayat Yesham Shwapi Tad Gandha Bhag Bhavet. What does that mean? Let me repeatedly offer my respectful obeisances unto the bee-like devotees of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even if even a doggish non-devotee somehow takes shelter of such devotees, he enjoys the aroma of the lotus flower. Which lotus flower? Which lotus flower do they enjoy? Yes, somebody's listening. The lotus flower of the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even a doggish non-devotee, by the mercy of pure devotees, can enjoy that sweet aroma, fragrance of the Lord's lotus feet. Actually, Govinda Dasi, my god sister, told me that Srila Prabhupada always smelled like a combination of roses and sandalwood. So his lotus feet included. All right. Now, we're great recipients of the wealth of the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya by the divine grace of the Lord in the form of His divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Let's take a moment and reflect on our Guru Parampara, because today we're glorifying several of our great predecessors. In his purport to Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13, Text number 8, Srila Prabhupada himself glorifies his disciplic succession. He says, Brahma is the direct recipient of Vedic knowledge from the personality of Godhead, and anyone discharging his entrusted duties in disciplic succession from Brahma is sure to gain fame in this life and salvation in the next. The disciplic succession from Brahma is called the Brahma Sampradaya, and it descends as follows. Brahma, Narada, Vyasa, Madhva Muni, Purna Prajna, Padmanabha, Narihari, Madhava, Akshobhya, Jayatirtha, Jnana Sindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jayadharma, Purushottama, Brahmanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmi Pati, Madhavendra Puri, Ishwara Puri, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarup Damodar, and Srila Rup Goswami, and others. Raghunath Das Goswami, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti, Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gauri Kishore Das Babaji, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. These are his words. It's significant here that in giving this particular list of his Guru Parampara, Srila Prabhupada doesn't mention Sanatana Goswami explicitly. Instead, he mentions Raghunath Das Goswami. Because Sanatana Goswami was elder. But still, Raghunath Das Goswami enjoys a special place in our Guru Parampara. Today is his Avirbhava Tithi. So we know that at the end of every chapter of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says this couplet, Shri Rupa Raghunatha Padijarash Chaitanya Charitamrita Kahe Krishnadas. Praying at the lotus feet of Srila Rupa and Raghunath Goswamis. It's the great desire of Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami to narrate this Chaitanya Charitamrita. So in accordance with his example, Narottam Das Thakur also prayed, Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabe Ham Bujhabo She Jugali Piriti Rupa Raghunatha Pade Rahumorash Prarthana Karo Je Sada Narottam Das. That means that at the lotus feet of Rupa Raghunath, if one studies these literatures that they have left with great eagerness, then we can understand what is this Yugala Priti. Yugala Priti. Everybody talks about Yugala Priti in Vrindavan. What is the love of Radha Krishna? We have no chance of understanding that. It's too confidential. But it's been given in this Kali Yuga of all times by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And fortunately for the entire world, we also have heard this Chaitanya Charitamrita and the Goswami's literature in general, including Narottam Das Thakur, from His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, there was practically no chance that those outside of West Bengal would have any clue about any of these things as well. So Srila Prabhupada dedicated his life working very, very hard for all of us so that we could sit here this morning and discuss these things. So first and foremost, we should bow down at his divine lotus feet. Now, following in the footsteps of these two acharyas whom I've just quoted, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also gave this instruction among his last. He said, all of you propagate the message of Rupa Raghunatha with supreme enthusiasm. That's another way you can look at what Narottam Das Thakur said, I suppose. Akuti means great eagerness. So this is how he gave this among his final orders. And likewise, Srila Prabhupada has glorified these two in particular here in this purport. Now, Raghunath Das Goswami was born in 1494, Common Era, at Krishnapur in Hooghly district, West Bengal. His father was Govardhan Majumdar, famous zamindar from Shaptagram. But he was totally renounced even from his very youth. He had no interest in this great opulence that his father possessed. He's described in Ganodesh Deepika, text number 186, Dasa Shri Raghunathasya Purvakhya Rasamanjari Amam Kechit Prabhanante Srimatim Radimanjarim Bhanumatyakhyat Kechit Ahustam Nama Bhedataha. So that means that he was, Raghunath Das Goswami was formerly known as Rasamanjari. Or some people say that he was Rati Manjari, and others even say that he was Bhanumati. So there's different opinions about this. Even back in 1576, which is when this Gargonodish Tipika was written, one of the earliest actually of all the Gaudiya Vaishnava literatures, written by Kavi Karnapur. So Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 10 text 91 describes him as the 46th branch of the Chaitanya tree. Mahaprabhura Priya Pritya Raghunatha Das Sharvatyajish Kaila Prabhura Pade Talebash. So that means that Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, the 46th branch of the tree, was one of the most dear servants of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He left all his worldly possessions to surrender completely unto the Lord and live at his lotus feet. Now, don't do anything rash when you hear this instruction. He was qualified to do that. And most of us are not so. So we have to work very carefully under the guidance of someone who is. You know, sometimes people in immature situation, they think they're just going to sign over their whole bank account and just give up everything and join the ashram, and that's great if you can do that. And these wonderful young men who are sitting in our midst and gracing the earth by their lotus feet, those who are dressed in saffron, they've done this. So we should offer our respects to them. They're following in the footsteps of Raghunath Das Goswami. So he left all his possessions. Srila Prabhupada has given us a very illuminating purport. We wouldn't get very far without this purport, so listen closely. He says, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur writes in his Anubhashya, note here, Srila Prabhupada is quoting his own guru, rather than just speaking whatever from his own heart. Quote, Srila Raghunath Das Goswami was most probably born in the year 1416. That is Shakabda era, which translates to Anno Domini 1494, as we've said already. In a Kayastha family, as the son of Govardhan Majumdar, who was the younger brother of the then Zamindar Hiranya Majumdar. The village where he took birth is known as Sri Krishnapura. On the railway line between Kolkata and Burdwan is a station named Trishabhaga, now known as Adi Shaptagram. And about 1.5 miles away is the village of Sri Krishnapura, where the parental home of Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was situated. What kind of parents give birth to such a boy? Raghunath Das Goswami. And they were right here in this country, in West Bengal. A temple of Sri Sri Radha Govinda is still there. In front of the temple is a large open area, but no large hall for devotees to assemble. Anyone been there recently? I haven't. Maybe some magnanimous person has done so. If you have a ton of money and you're so inclined, maybe you can build such a thing. And then there can be tumultuous Sankirtana there as well. On the railway line, I'm sorry, we read this, hold on. A rich Kolkata gentleman named Hari Charan Ghosh, who resided in Shimla, recently repaired the temple. The entire temple compound is surrounded by walls, and in a small room just at the side of the temple is a small platform on which Raghunath Das Goswami used to worship the deity. By the side of the temple is the dying river Saraswati. There used to be Saraswati River there. The forefathers of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami were all Vaishnavas and were very rich men. His spiritual master at home was Yadunandana Acharya. Although Raghunath Das was a family man, he had no attachment for his estate and wife. Seeing his tendency to leave home, his father and uncle engaged special bodyguards to watch over him. But nonetheless, he managed to escape their vigilance and went away to Jagannath Puri to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This incident took place in the year 1439 Shakabda, which translates as Common Era 1517. Raghunath Das Goswami compiled 3 books, namely Stavamala or Stavavali, Dana Charita, and Mukta Charita. He lived a long time, residing for most of his life at Radhakund. The place where Raghunath Das Goswami performed his devotional service still exists by Radhakund. He almost completely gave up eating, and therefore he was very skinny and of weak health. His only concern was to chant the holy name of the Lord. He gradually reduced his sleeping until he was almost not sleeping at all. It is said that his eyes were always full of tears. When Srinivasa Acharya went to see Raghunath Das Goswami, the Goswami blessed him by embracing him. Srinivasa Acharya went to see Raghunath Das Goswami and requested his blessings for preaching in Bengal, and Srila Raghunath Das Goswami granted them. In Gaur-Ganodesh Deepika 186, it is stated that Sri Raghunath Das Goswami was formerly the gopi named Rasa Manjari. Sometimes it is said that he was Rati Manjari. We've heard this. Chaitanya Charitamrita Anchi Lila, chapter 6, also describes how he joined Lord Chaitanya. And the first verse of that chapter is Mangalacharana. It's very nice. Kripa Gunayarya Kugridhanda Kupat Udhritya Bhangya Raghunath Dasam Nyasya Swarupe Vidadhentarangam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mamum Prapadye. With the ropes of his causeless mercy, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu employed a trick to deliver Raghunath Das Goswami from the blind well of contemptible family life. He made Raghunath Das Goswami one of his personal associates, placing him under the charge of Sarup Damodar Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Now, Srila Prabhupada has given his summary of that chapter. This is Antya Lila, chapter 6. And again, he's quoting his predecessor. A summary of this chapter is given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur in his Amrita Pravaha Bhashya as follows. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went into fits of ecstatic love, Ramananda Rai and Sarup Damodar Goswami attended to him and satisfied him as he desired. Raghunath Das Goswami had been attempting to come to the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for a long time, and finally he left his home and met the Lord. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had gone to Shantipura on his way to Vrindavana, Raghunath Das Goswami had offered to dedicate his life to the Lord's lotus feet. In the meantime, however, a Muslim official became envious of Hiranyadas, Raghunath Das Goswami's uncle, and induced some big official court minister to have him arrested. Thus Hiranyadas left his home. But by the intelligence of Raghunath Das, the misunderstanding was mitigated. Then Raghunath Das went to Panihati, and following the order of Nityanand Prabhu, he observed a festival, Chiradari Mahotsav, by distributing chipped rice mixed with yogurt. The day after the festival, Nityanand Prabhu gave Raghunath Das the blessing that he would very soon attain the shelter of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After this incident, Raghunath Das, with the help of his priest, whose name was Yadunandana Acharya, got out of his house by trickery and thus ran away. Not touching the general path, Raghunath Das Goswami secretly went to Jagannath Puri. After 12 days, he arrived in Jagannath Puri at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu entrusted Raghunath Das Goswami to Sarup Damodar Goswami. Therefore, another name for Raghunath Das Goswami is Sharuper Raghu, or the Raghunath of Sarup Damodar. For 5 days, Raghunath Das Goswami took prasadam at the temple, but later he would stand at the Singhadwara gate and eat only whatever he could gather by alms. Later, he lived by taking alms from various chatras, or food distributing centers. When Raghunath's father received news of this, he sent some men and money, but Raghunath Das Goswami refused to accept the money. Understanding that Raghunath Das Goswami was living by begging from the chatras, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented him with his own Gunjamala and a stone from Govardhan hill. Thereafter, Raghunath Das Goswami used to eat rejected food that he had collected and washed. His conscience was such that he thought, this is not good that I'm living in this way. So he would just take things that nobody else wanted. This renounced life greatly pleased both Sarup Damodar Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One day Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took by force some of the same food, thus blessing Raghunath Das Goswami for his renunciation. So you can see here two things. Number one, as we mentioned, Srila Prabhupada is generally only quoting his predecessors whenever he explains anything from his books. That you can see, especially if you know Sanskrit and can read his commentaries, or the predecessor commentaries, you can see he's not really adding anything new most of the time. But if it's necessary, he'll do so. And the second thing is that because Raghunath Das Goswami had real adhikar, he was renounced from his birth, he could actually live like this and please the Lord. When we try to imitate these Goswamis, generally it's not pleasing to the Lord because it's artificial, in most cases. But if someone has that adhikar, that is glorious. So these are a few words. We don't have so much time for all the personalities we have to glorify. But this is Raghunath Das Goswami's great example. And now we have Raghunandan Thakur. Who is Raghunandan Thakur? According to Gaur Gunadish Deepika, texts 175 through 177, Vrajadhikarini Yasi Vrinda Devi Tunamataha Sa Shri Mukunda Dasodhya Khandavasa Prabhu Priyaha. That is, Vrinda Devi, the protector of Vraja, became Mukunda Das and was dear to the Lord. He lived in Sri Khanda, and moreover, Pura Madhumati Prana Sakhi. Pura Vrindavane Vira Duti Sarvashta Gopikaha Ninaya Krishna I have a bad text here. Sedanim Janako Mama Raje Bindumati Yasid Adyasad Janaki Mama. Vira, who was previously a messenger in Vrindavan, who brought all the gopis to Krishna, became my father. Whose father? Huh? Two wrong answers. Anyone else want to volunteer an answer? It's not Raghunath Das Goswami. It's not Raghunandan Thakur. Who is speaking? What are we reading? Ah? Okay, I caught you. We're reading from Gaur Gunadish Deepika at the moment. And therefore, who is speaking? Yes. And who is the father of Kavi Karnapura? And that's what he means when he says, my father. So let's listen again. Veera, previously the messenger gopi in Vrindavan, who brought all the other gopis to Krishna, she became Shivananda Singh in Chaitanya Lila, he says. And who was in Braja Lila, who was Bindumati, she became my mother. This is his quote again. Bindumati became the mother of Kavi Karnapur. And he goes on to say, Pura Madhumati Prana Sakhi Vrindavane Sthita Adhuna Naraharyakhya Sarkaraha Prabhu Priyaha. She who was previously Madhumati, the Prana Sakhi in Vrindavan, now became Narahari Sarkar, very dear associate of the Lord. And they were living in which place? Does anybody know? Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Lila chapter 10, text 78 through 79 describe. Khandavasi Mukunda Dasa Sri Raghunandana Narahari Dasa Chiranjiva Sulochana Eshava Mahashakha Krishna Chaitanya Kripa Dhama Prema Phala Phula Kare Jaha Taha Dana. So that is to say that Sri Khandavasi Mukunda and his son Raghunandan were the 39th branch of the tree. Narahari was the 40th. Chiranjiva was the 41st, and Sulochan the 42nd. They were all big branches of the all-merciful tree of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And where did they all live? Srikhanda. Yes. They distributed the fruits and flowers of love of Godhead anywhere and everywhere. Purport. Sri Mukunda Dasa was the son of Narayana Dasa and eldest brother of Narahari Sarkar. His second brother's name was Madhava Das, and his son was named Raghunandan Das. The descendants of Raghunandan Das still live 4 miles west of Katwa in the village of Srikhanda, where Raghunandan Das used to live. Raghunandan had one son named Kanai, who had 2 sons, Madan Rai, who was a disciple of Narahari Thakur, and Vamshi Vadan. It is estimated that at least 400 men descended in this dynasty. All their names are recorded in the village of Srikhanda. In the Gauraganodesh Deepika, it is stated that the gopi whose name was Vrinda Devi became Mukunda Das and lived in Srikhanda village, and was very dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His wonderful devotion and love for Krishna are described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila chapter 15. That's the previous chapter from what we're quoting. It is stated in Bhakti Ratnakar, 8th wave, that Raghunandan used to serve the deity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Narahari Sarkar was a very famous devotee. Lochan Das Thakur, the celebrated author of Sri Chaitanya Mangala, was his disciple. In the Chaitanya Mangala, it is stated that Sri Gadadhar Das and Narahari Sarkar were extremely dear to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but there is no specific statement regarding the inhabitants of the village of Srikhanda. Chiranjiva and Sulochan were both residents of Srikhanda, where their descendants are still living. Of Chiranjiva's 2 sons, the elder, Ramchandra Kaviraj, was a disciple of Srinivasa Acharya and an intimate associate of Narottam Das Thakur. The younger son was Govinda Das Kaviraj, the famous Vaishnava poet. Chiranjiva's wife was Sunanda, and his father-in-law was Damodar Sen Kaviraj. Chiranjiva previously lived on the bank of the Ganges River in the village of Kumar Nagar. Gauraganodesh Deepika 207 states that he was formerly Chandrika in Vrindavana. So it doesn't really say so much about Raghunandan here, but we do know that he was the son of Mukunda. Now, Pundarik Vidyanidhi is described in Gauraganodesh Deepika, text 54 and 6. Vrishabhanu Tayakhyataha Purayo Vrajamandale Adhuna Pundarikakhyo Vidyanidhi Mahashaya. He who was famous in Vraja's Vrishabhanu became Pundarik Vidyanidhi. So who is Vrishabhanu? A big person, isn't it? Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore also called him Premanidhi. He was an ocean of what kind of prema? Vatsalya prema. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to call him his father. He was so dear. We'll hear more. Swakiya bhavam asadya radha virahakataraha Chaitanya pundarikakhye tata varat swayam. Taking the mood of a female lover pained with separation as Radha, Chaitanya would call Pundarika his father. Premanithiti akyatim gauro yasmai dadau sukhi madhavendrasya shinyatvat gauratvam chasadakarot. Happy with Pundarika, Gauranga gave him the name Premanithi, the ocean of prema, and always gave great respect to him since he was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri. So both in the Siddha Deha and the Sadhaka Deha, he was superior to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because in Vraja Lila, he was an elder, and even in Gaur Lila, he is also an elder person, Guru Jana. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila chapter 10, text 14 says further about Pundarika. Pundarika vidyanidhi barhashakha jani jaranama laya prabhu kandila apani. Pundarik vidyanidhi, the third big branch, was so dear to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that in his absence, Lord Chaitanya himself would sometimes cry. Purported in Gargonadesh Deepika, we've already heard, Srila Pundarik Vidyanidhi is described as father, Srimati Radharani and Krishna Lila. This goes to show that you don't really need to read so many other books, right? Because the same thing is all being repeated by Srila Prabhupada in his purports. These purports are so wonderful. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore treated him as his father. Pundarik Vidyanidhi's father was known as Baneshwara, or according to another opinion, Shuklambara Brahmachari. And his mother's name was Ganga Devi. According to one opinion, Baneshwar was a descendant of Sri Shivaram Gangopadhyay. The original home of Pundarik Vidyanidhi was in East Bengal, now Bangladesh, in a village near Dhaka called Baghia, which belonged to the Varendra group of Brahmana families. Sometimes these Varendra Brahmanas were at odds with one another. That's what happened. They got in a fight, one group of Brahmins and another group of the same family. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi's family was ostracized and at that time was not living as a respectable family. In fact, they went elsewhere. There's a place in the district of Chattagaon in East Bengal, which is known as Hatahazari. And a short distance from this place is a village known as Mekhlagaon, in which Pundarik Vidyanidhi's forefathers lived. One can approach Mekhlagaon from, anyway, this is details. You can go on horseback. Anybody ready to do that in 2025? I don't think so. Anyway, this is, I gather, this is Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. This is Bhakti Vinod. This is Prabhupada is writing this. But he's probably paraphrasing his predecessors. So, here Prabhupada says that the temple constructed there 2 miles southwest of his birthplace. It's called Annapurna Ghat. And the temple constructed there by Pundarik Vidyanidhi is now very old and much in need of repair. Without repair, the temple may soon crumble. Anybody know if ISKCON has repaired that yet? Prabhupada created Gauramandala Bhumi Trust specifically for that purpose. We don't know how active that trust is nowadays. There are 2 inscriptions on the bricks of that temple, but they're so old that one cannot read them. There's another temple, however, about 200 yards south of this one, and some people say that this is the old temple constructed by Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Anyway, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu called Pundarik Vidyanidhi father and gave him the title Premanidhi. This Premanidhi later became the spiritual master of Gadadhar Pandit and an intimate friend of Sarup Damodar. That's a pretty big person, isn't it? If you're the incarnation of Srimati Radharani's father and you become the spiritual master of Gadadhar Pandit and best friend of Surudamodar. That's pretty intimate devotee. So Pundarik Vidyanidhi is such a glorious personality. Gadadhar Pandit at first misunderstood Pundarik Vidyanidhi to be an ordinary pound, shilling, pence man. But later, upon being corrected by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he became his disciple. Sometimes the person who is your guru you may misunderstand at first. It happens. I've seen it. Another incident in the life of Pundarik Vidyanidhi involves his criticizing the priest of the Jagannath temple, for which Jagannath Prabhu and his brother and sister chastised him personally by slapping his cheeks. This is described in Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata. Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur informs us that during his time there were still 2 living descendants in the family of Pundarik Vidyanidhi who were named as Harkumar Smriti Tirtha and Krishna Kinkara Vidyalankar. For further information, one should refer to the dictionary known as Vaishnava Manjusha. Okay. Now, finally, we come to Vishnu Priya Devi. And what does Gorgonadesh Deepika say about her? Text 47 and 48 tell us, Shri Sanatana Mishro Yad Pura Shatrajito Nripaha Vishnu Priya Jagan Mata Yat Kanya Bhusurupini. King Shatrajit during Krishna Lila, that's Dwarka Lila we've been hearing, became Sanatan Mishra in Chaitanya Lila, and his daughter Vishnu Priya was an incarnation of the Lord's Bhushakti, the universal mother, Jaganmata. Ukta Prasangat Kalina Sri Chaitanya Vidhudaye Bhuvangsha Rupam Paramam Cha Vishnu Priyam Viditva Paraniya Kantam. It is said in the Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak that knowing the Supreme Vishnu Priya was an amsha of the earth, the Lord accepted her in marriage. Sometimes the Lord does this. Have you noticed? Which other form of the Lord accepted the earth as his consort? Lord Varaha. Not Satyabhama, I'm sorry to tell you, did not accept Bhudevi as her consort. That didn't happen. You have to think before you speak 3 times. Who else? Varahadev and? Come on, people. Huh?
We get it right.
Huh? They're afraid. Okay. What does the name Sita mean? It means a furrow in the earth. And where did Sita come from? The earth. It means she was also the earth, right? All right, we're going to explain this in a minute, so I don't need to dilate too much here. But it's stated that Vishnu has 3 energies. Shri, Bhu, Nila, right? Navadvip Dham is his Nila Shakti, or Lila Shakti it's sometimes called. Vishnu Priya Devi is his Bhu Shakti. And Lakshmi Priya Devi is the Shri Shakti of Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya comes as Gaura Narayana, she comes as Lakshmi Priya, the dear Lakshmi Devi. And when he comes as Gaura Krishna, or when he's in the mood of Gaura Krishna, Gadadhar Pandit is his Shakti. So this Madhurya Rasa is not so easy thing to understand. So Vishnu Priya was known to be in Krishna Lila home, Satyabhama, daughter of Shatrajit. Vishnu Priya is also said to personify transcendental knowledge. We might not have known that. Because the Shri actually embodies everything. Enlightenment and ignorance both. They're actually her energy, Shri Devi. And all these others are expanding from her. But that's why it's not surprising that devotees worship her on her appearance day, which is also Saraswati Puja. Who is Saraswati? The goddess of knowledge and learning. Yes, Vak, Sharada. So this we said already, that ordinary people are indirectly worshipping her on the same day in the form of Saraswati Puja, but the devotees, especially Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we know that this is the appearance day of Vishnu Priya Devi, who is the source of Saraswati. Is she not? Yes. Actually, she is. Vishnu Priya Devi's grandfather is known as Durga Das Mishra, but some people say that Durga Das Mishra was Vishnu Priya's father. There's always different opinions. This is the problem. That's why we sing every single day, Guru Mukha Padma Bhakta Chite Te Kori Aikya, Arona Kori Homane Asha. Just go by whatever you read in Prabhupada's books, because I guarantee you will become confused if you read too many other books, especially those that are available in the cloth market. Okay, so in her early childhood, she used to worship Lord Vishnu, and she was very devoted to her parents. She used to take thrice daily bath in the Ganga. And who did she see when she was going there? Shachi Mata. Therefore, Shachi Mata was already acquainted with this girl, a very nice character she has, she could understand. And she used to pay obeisances to Shachi Mata also, and receive the latter's blessings. So Shachinata already knew that this girl would make a wonderful daughter-in-law. So Buddhimanda Khan, a friend of the family, he volunteered to pay the entire expense of Nimai's wedding. And that joyous occasion has been described in Vrindavan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Bhagavata Adi Khanda, chapter 15. When Mahaprabhu left home to go to Katwa and take sannyas, he was only 24. Poor Vishnu Priya's feelings of separation after his departure are described in Lochan Das Thakur's Chaitanya Mangala. How old was she? Anybody remember?
16.
Yeah, not more than 16. Can you imagine? He got it right because he reads every day, people. We get the proof in the mail every day, right? Okay. So Srinivas visited her daily. This is after Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, and observed her pathetic activities. She completely renounced sleep. How could she sleep? Like Srimati Radharani. She rested only while lying on bare earth. Her golden bodily luster became dull, and she became as thin as the waning moon. You see, the crescent moon is just a little sliver. She set aside grains to chant the holy names of the Lord. And with every round, she would put one grain aside, and that's all she ate. As many rounds as she chanted, that many grains of rice. Raise your hand if you can do this. Srila Prabhupada comments in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, chapter 21, text number 20, I think it is. That text describes the austerities undergone by Queen Archie following the disappearance of her husband, Prithu Maharaj. And she followed the regulative principles of great sages who live in forests. She ate only fruits, flowers, leaves, and she was not fit for any activity. She became frail and thin, but she derived pleasure from serving her husband. Now in the purport, Prabhupada says, the words Bhartur Vrata Dharma Nishtaya indicate that a woman's duty or religious principle is to serve her husband in all conditions. In Vedic civilization, a man is taught from the beginning of his life to become a brahmachari, then an ideal grihastha, because it's not possible to do the second unless you do the first, practically speaking. There will be some shortcomings there we've observed and maybe we've experienced. And then vanaprastha, and then sannyas. If the wife is taught just to follow the husband strictly, and the wife is taught just to follow the husband strictly in all conditions of life. That is to say that women don't really have these different ashrams and different varnas, that it's not stated in the Shastras at least, that women have these things. It is stated in the Shastra that their only business is to serve the husband. Only business, exclusive, simple. It's easy. And we should not try to complicate it because it's already easy. So, after the life of brahmachari, a man accepts a householder's life, and the woman is also taught by her parents to be a chaste wife. That's the equivalent of the brahmachari ashram for the women in the home. Thus, when a girl and boy are united, both are trained for a life dedicated to a higher purpose. The boy is trained to execute his duty in accordance with a higher purpose of life, and the girl is trained to follow him. The chaste wife's duty is to keep her husband pleased in householder life in all respects, and when the husband retires from family life, she is to go to the forest and adopt the life of vanaprastha, or banavasi. At that time, the wife is to follow her husband and take care of him just as she took care of him in the householder life. But when the husband takes the renounced order of life, namely sannyas, the wife is to return home and become a saintly woman, setting an example for her children and daughters-in-law, and showing them how to live a life of austerity. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, his wife, Vishnupriya Devi, although only 16 years, confirmed, old, also took the vow of austerity due to her husband's leaving home. She chanted her beads, and after finishing one round, she collected 1 grain of rice. In this way, as many rounds as she chanted, she would receive the same number of rice grains and then cook them and so take prasadam. This is called austerity. Even today in India, widows or women whose husbands have taken sannyas follow the principles of austerity, even though they live with their children. If you're losing sleep about this, you can look up a letter that Prabhupada wrote to Govinda Dasi about this topic, woman who is bereft of her husband. It's pretty enlightening. And Prabhupada actually expected us to do these things. Prithu Maharaj's wife Archie was steadily determined to execute the duty of a wife, and while her husband was in the forest, she followed him in eating only fruits and leaves and lying down on the ground. Since a woman's body is considerably more delicate than man's, Queen Archie became very frail and thin, parikarshita. When one engages in austerities, his body generally becomes lean and thin. Becoming fat is not a very good qualification in spiritual life, because a person who is engaged in spiritual life must reduce the comforts of the body, namely eating, sleeping, and mating, to a minimum. Although Queen Archie became very thin from living in the forest according to regulative principles, she was not unhappy, for she was enjoying the honor of serving her great husband. So, when, as Vishnupriya Devi grew older, she was taken care of. She lived with Shachi Mata, and she was taken care of by Vamshivadan Thakur and Ishan Thakur, both also Guru Janas in Chaitanya Lila, in the absence of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this is her story. Now Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, born in 1638 Common Era, he's also known as Hari Vallabhadas. That's his pen name. He wrote some songs even in Brajabuli and also in Brajbhasha, but mostly he wrote in Sanskrit. In fact, he wrote a Sanskrit commentary on a Bengali poem, Sri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadhana. So he was the crest jewel of the Vaishnavas. We're running out of time here. But he was the mouthpiece of Rupa Goswami, and next to Rupa Goswami, practically no one we've seen can really glorify the Lord in the same effective manner. If you look at the Bhagavatam commentaries, for which he's famous, and other commentaries, he's so eloquent, he says so much in so few words. But he says more than anyone else in general also. And therefore some of those followers of his, they consider that he is actually an incarnation of Rupa Goswami. So, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also said that he was the protector, guardian, and acharya during the middle period of the Gaudiya history. That's like 17th, 18th century. Because he appeared in the 17th century, he left in the 18th century. So, then it was later on rejuvenated again by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, because the Sahajiya tendency is so strong, my friends. Be careful. Especially here in Vrindavan, it's very, very prevalent. You have to be so careful. This is why we're emphasizing Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. Srila Prabhupada did not like it when people go to hear this one and that one. Even here in Vrindavan, he didn't like it. So please be chaste, as was Archie, as was Vishnupriya, and so many others. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, of course, he worshipped Radha Gokulananda, Giriraj also, and those deities are still there in Gokulananda Mandir. Yeah, so he was ordered by Lord Krishna in a dream to write so many books, and then he took it up very eagerly and very competently as well. And they all came out, and we're so fortunate for that. So much more we can say about how he clarified the meaning of the Gayatri Mantra, and how he also worshipped Gokulananda and Giriraj, and so many things we can say, but we're kind of running out of time. So, anyway, they give us great inspiration, all these great acharyas, and we sincerely pray that after thousands of births, now we've come to the human form, and we don't know how many human births we've been in either, maybe multiple human births, but now we have the chance to sincerely pray at the lotus feet of all these great Vaishnavas and take shelter of their lotus feet and gain their blessings. We have the Samadhi Mandir of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Radha Gokulananda temple courtyard, and others are also there. So, happy Vasant Panchami, also called Madana Sant Panchami in some quarters, because some people worship Cupid today. But Krishna is the original Cupid. Some people are worshiping Saraswati today. Musicians in general don't play their musical instruments, they set them aside and worship them today. Students in college, many colleges have a temple of Saraswati already there for this purpose. They go and pray, especially around exam times. Everybody prays very diligently, as much as we should pray at the lotus feet of our acharyas, at least. So, these are just a few things we can say within the limited time we have, but maybe do we have that time for one or two questions, Prabhu? Okay, he's raising his hand. Just Jorse Goliya, you can hear you.
There are so many branches. Suppose there are 90 branches, sub-branches. So, all these branches, how do we look at these branches? Like I read somewhere, you cannot consider someone high, someone low. They are all very equally important. Plus, it's understanding all these branches is so complicated. We have this very little teeny brain, understanding all those things. So when we read these books, we really try to just know these branches, or we have to in-depth understand each and every branch, because I practically feel it is very difficult to understand everything, because Lord Chaitanya's mercy is so inconceivable. We will not be able to gather everything.
Yeah, it's a good point. There are many, many branches of the Gaudiya Sampradaya also. Some of them wearing different tilaks, some of them doing different rituals, and it's very different. So yeah, it's easy to get confused. But again, the principle for the third time in one lecture is Guru Mukha Padma Vakya, Chite De Kori Aikya, Arana Kori Homani Asha. If it is in Srila Prabhupada's books, you should know that. And you have to study it and learn it. You have to, even if it's difficult. But if it's not in Srila Prabhupada's books, it's probably not necessary. This is the faith that we should have. It is exactly the faith that Narottam Das Thakur is trying to inculcate in us, and that's why he wrote such strong words. Shri Guru Charane Rati Aishe Uttama Gati. What other program do you have except gaining taste for service to the lotus feet of the spiritual master? Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasada. So yeah, if it's in Srila Prabhupada's books, we should study it. And we see there is a lot of detail in Prabhupada's books. For whatever reason, he saw fit to include it, so that we should study. Otherwise, it's not so much necessary to go outside. However, having said that, it can be very helpful to avoid misinterpreting Srila Prabhupada, to understand how his predecessors have understood a particular matter, for example, philosophical matter. This is why the Acharya's commentaries are They're reference works, put it that way. And we should treat them in that way. They should never be our mainstay of bhajan. Our mainstay should always be the Bhaktivedanta purports. In fact, I get nervous. Recently I was in Chennai and didn't have access to all the books. So I asked somebody for Bhagavatam, they brought me 11th canto. Okay, but I'm really missing Prabhupada's purport. I want to hear Prabhupada. So, I don't think that's a wrong mentality. We have a respect for what anyone realizes about Krishna consciousness, and we can learn something from just about anybody. But we cannot learn everything from just anybody. We can only learn everything from our own Acharya, and that would be His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? One more question. Because it's time now.
Was Saraswati the wife of Brahma?
Yeah, this is a complicated question also. Was Saraswati the wife of Brahma? Yes. And Saraswati is also the wife of
Did he manifest Saraswati?
Yeah. I don't remember that part so much. But Saraswati is a little difficult to understand because she's also the Lord's internal potency, but she has her external form as well. In her external form, she's Brahma's wife. In her internal form, she is the goddess of knowledge. Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, I just want to confirm if the song Sansara Dava Nala, this Guru Astaka, written by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur or not?
Absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Yes. It's one of his most important songs. And that's why Prabhupada asked us to sing it every day.
Yeah.
Just like we sing Guru Mukha Padma Vakya.
Yeah.
So we also have to remind ourselves, every single day we have to remind ourselves, Yasya prasadam, Bhagavat prasadam. Otherwise the tendency is very strong to, think, they're all the same, and no problem, Hari Guru Vaishnava. But it's not like that. Everything is coming to us through our spiritual master. He's a sponsor for our soul. And we can't hope to really access anything else except through his kripa. That we always have to know.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.